Story time, I just had a date with a guy, and whenever he was taking me back home, instead of taking me home, he took me to his place. And I told him, I don't want to go up, just you need to take me home, I want to go home. And he said like, no, but we need to talk and whatever, why are you being so dramatic? I said, I want to.
There are two types of modern women: bisexual, bipolar. Good morning from Ikram TV. What's going on? This is your angry face coach Ikram sitting here making videos. Okay, anyway. So, the social media today is full of misandry towards men. Well, we know that with the banning of Mr. Andrew Tate. Anything truth that has been said is not acceptable. Everything lie is acceptable. So what happened yesterday? There is this one woman living in Dubai who is a realtor or whatever she's doing. Okay. So I've come across her so many times and I'm like, I don't want to see her, man, but that's the way the algorithm is and that's the way it works. That's why all of these women have like hundreds and thousands of views, basically for pretty much nothing of value that they might bring you or anybody else, but they're just on there ranting and talking nonsense. Anyway, so she comes on and I came across one of her videos where she is like, can you please stop sending me messages? You have sent me 300 messages and this. I'm like, bro, okay, it's none of anybody else's business to know that, somebody's sending you messages. Whatever it is, that's between you and the other person. You can make a video to tell him not to send you 300 messages, but you cannot reply to this guy and say, okay, just don't send me messages. I don't want to hear from you. So I said exactly that. I'm like, look, at least have the courtesy to reply to the guy and say, okay, don't send me messages. Simple as that. End of conversation, right? No, but she's like this and that and this and that. Then she's like, it's kind of suspicious. But just before that, I had dropped a comment saying that, look, I'm not the guy in her DMs, just so that everybody knows and thinks I am the guy, because anybody saying the right thing becomes villainized in the modern society. So I'm like, let me put this disclaimer out there. She's like, it's kind of suspicious when you have to type it like this. I'm like, you already know who's messaging you, and I'm not the one messaging you. I don't go for masculine, combative women who are always on the internet ranting about every man in Dubai. Isn't it obvious already? Anyway, so that and then she has a habit. She has a habit of going on dates like every other woman in Dubai, finessing men, going on dates to fancy restaurants and end up with them paying the bill and she not giving them anything in return. If there is one thing that men take women out for dates, it's not to get to know your personality because you don't have any. It's specifically for one thing alone and one thing alone. If you don't want to give men that and you're wasting their time, don't do it, because men have other things to do. Okay, not all men ride motorcycles and cars and have not gone ahead and broken that threshold of pleasure that women can give them, because cars and motorcycles far exceed the pleasure that are given by women. But most men are not like that, so they have no other choice but think of women like, I can be so happy, I can do so. So we were just going back and forth with the messages, and then she calls me insecure, and she's like, is it because you can't satisfy women? This and that. The usual talk. Who hurt you? The usual nonsense which comes out of the mouth of every modern woman. They're all programmed to say the same thing. It's like an instruction manual which they're reading out of, like, okay, what can I do to get back at this guy? I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. I'm like, why would I be insecure? Who are you? You're a stranger on the internet ranting about some shit, and it's like, you're doing it for the clout and attention. Well, do it, but at least be honest about it, right? And I'm like, I'm a man with superhuman strength and stamina. I'm a I'm an athlete, an extreme athlete, all right, who lives his life and burns so many calories per day that most people don't even consume. Okay? And my foot size is 12. That means something. And I'm fit. And not just that, I got money too. I got plenty of cars, right? I got everything that there is that needs to be in order and in check. And the most important part, what I got is I got intellect. I got intellect where yours finishes and mine just begins. No, so no, we're not equals. I'm far superior at everything. And then she goes ahead and calls me uncle. I'm like, uncle? Okay, no problem. Anyway, so somebody who doesn't have her eggs with her calling me an uncle is not okay because men have no shelf life. Men get to 20 and then stay there. If you're a smart man, hard-working man, you're going to stay there and everything after that is experience and you're going to build from there. Okay? Men's lives pretty much start after 30. Women start at soon as they hit their teenage puberty, whatever, and go from there. And then after 25, it's all going downhill. But men are not like that. Men start their life from 30, and if you're a good, hardworking, smart man, you have good 30 years run up ahead of you. You can have babies whenever you want. It's not a big deal at all. So what applies to men doesn't apply to women, and what applies to women doesn't apply to men. We're not the same. We're not equals. But this modern day nonsense, everybody wants to say, oh, we're all equals, we're all this and that. An eagle is not the same as a pigeon. Okay. Anyway, so then she goes ahead and makes a video, duets my video, and let me say, here you go. Bisexual, bipolar. Okay, so she calls me high levels of cringe. Nothing new. Just another misogynistic dude making degrading content about women in Dubai. Woo! Yes. How am I misogynist when I love straight women and I'm a straight man? Yeah, but women can say that kind of shit and get away with it with no accountability. Degrading women. Okay, now she's saying degrading women. So now she puts all women. I'm not degrading anybody. I'm just calling the truth the way I see it. There are plenty of women in Dubai calling themselves women, calling themselves good women, and doing a lot of nonsense. Like working the streets, for example, making money by spreading their legs. And all of that is okay, you know, and you can't tell them what to do. Oh, too bad, you're on Ikram TV. We're going to tell you what you are and what you do. Prostitution is illegal here. Maybe you don't know. Oh, okay. Anyway, so usually misogynist, whoever uses this word, it usually comes from a misandrist. And that's the only way they can actually try and shame somebody. You know, and just, oh, because he's misogynistic. Yeah, but what did he say which is misogynistic in the first place? Oh, nothing. Oh, no, he said this about, I felt that way. Yeah, you're responsible for what you feel, nobody else. Anyway, and then she says, because I counted from 1 to 2, she's like, oh, he can count till 2. Babe, you know what? Looking at that face, I just need to be able to count from 1 to 2.